My name is Charlotte and I was born in Melbourne. I'm the oldest of three sisters, and after a couple of years in the city we moved to the Mornington Peninsula where we had a hobby farm and we had a huge amount of animals there. While I was growing up we had chickens and ducks and cows and a horse for a while, and my daily routine involved collecting their eggs and feeding them, and they were like my best friends for a few years there. And then I went to school. I went to school in Hastings, which is a pretty low socioeconomic town, and I very quickly realised, even as a 5-year-old, that a lot of those kids there were kind of rougher than me and had a lot less than I did, which was kind of a shock. And I remember especially seeing a girl take something out of a rubbish bin and eating it, and then making an intentional decision that I was going to go and make friends with her, sort of out of pity and guilt, but also with this strange feeling that I wanted to know more about what it was like to be her, because I had no idea. After a few years there, my parents wanted us to have the best possible education, and so they moved all of us, my sisters and I, to a private school. And when I stepped out of the gates of that school, my privilege is even more visible to everyone because of the uniform that I was wearing, and all of the other students in the community used to call us tarts and stuck up and snobs, and I hated that, and I didn't want to be privileged. I didn't want to be different from other people, but there was nothing that I could really think of to do about it. And really the only thing I could come up with was to reject it, and so I started sort of rejecting my life. And around this time my family began to go on holidays overseas, and that's when I realised that actually my privilege wasn't just in my community, but that I was really privileged in this world, and that even though obviously we were all born equal, I could see that we were born into an extremely unequal world, and I couldn't really understand why and again what to do about it. So I continued really just to try to reject everything and rebel, and managed to get to the end of high school without being expelled, luckily, and also managed to get into university. And I found myself at Melbourne University, where there was an extremely active political scene, and there were people who were like me, who had had great educations and had had life experiences and maybe even been on overseas holidays with their families, and I could see that they were using that privilege to create change in the world. And that was a really amazing moment for me, and I really aspired to be like them. There was a rally that I was on one day. It was an issue that I didn't know that much about, but I wanted to learn more, so I was going along to these rallies, and they went up a flight of stairs into a building and occupied the building, and then said to all of us who were in there, if you want to stay, we're staying here now, but if you want to go, you can leave now. You don't have to stay inside. And even though I had no idea what an occupation was, I stayed, and I was glad that I did, because I really came out a different person, because I got to see those students using democratic processes and talking so clearly about the change that they wanted to see and how they were going to make that change happen. And I had never considered myself ever before to be someone that could create change. I'd never read the newspapers much or thought about political things. So yeah, I really left that moment a changed person, and really became involved after that time in a whole lot of different issues ever since then, really over the last 20 years, in uranium and forests and organic food and environmental education. And now I find myself working for the Wilderness Society as a community organiser, which has been excellent, because it means I get to connect with a whole lot of other people who care about environmental and social justice and who want to do something about it. And I feel like there are so many people out there who probably have given up and who feel like there's nothing that they can do. But I really encourage everyone to think again, because there are enough of us, and it's really exciting to work together and to create these changes that we want to see in the world.